Coming up on OTH, Raymond and I talk about the newest patch 12.16, the changes to Udyr and how he's doing so far, and then we cover over the first few weeks of the LCS playoffs in the summer split. We hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Hunt. Welcome, everybody, to episode 64 of On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris, aka the Cookie Monster. Because I've eaten a lot of fucking cookies this month, just from like Girl Scout cookies to baked cookies that the receptionist in my building keeps on bringing to work. I just been
Ooh,
tearing those motherfuckers up,
damn, dude.
and it is a lot of sugar. I'll tell you that, but I'm having a good time.
You're packing on the extra calories for the winter months.
I like the way that you think, and and joining me on this episode is our other co-host Raymond. What's happening, my captain?
Not much, dude. It's been, I don't know, it's like 3 weeks actually since we last recorded, so just been a couple scheduling things has messed this up. I went on a little trip up to your neck of the woods, see some buds. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I forget even what happened last week. I think it was just shit going on.
Your
Um,
power went out or
oh
something.
yeah, my
Yeah.
power went out. It was like just scheduled for a night randomly. It was weird. Had to sit in the dark. Yeah, I don't know. A
Man,
little bit
that
of
actually
gaming.
happened to me not that long ago, where like the power in my neighborhood went out because somebody hit like a power line or something, and yeah, it was just 5 hours. I had zero power, and it was infinitely hot in my house as well. So like I had to actually like leave the house and go somewhere with AC. It was just crazy.
Oh, damn. Yeah, for us it was at least like at night. Like I think they were doing scheduled maintenance, like they had to replace some shit or whatever. So it was like they said 9 o'clock, we're shutting it off. It was like right at 9. It goes out, and then it was like I don't know. I hung around and I like read a book and did that kind of stuff for a little bit, and then just went to bed. But then it came back on at like 3:15 in the morning, and we hadn't turned off all the lights and stuff. So like a
Oh,
bunch of lights in my house came back on, and I woke up and I'm like, what the fuck? And I had to get up and turn everything off again before I could go back to sleep.
man, were you all prepped for that? Did you have your scented candles and all that jazz?
I had like a camping lantern that I had made sure that it was charged, and I turned that on so that I had some light to read by, but that was it.
Okay, okay. What you been reading, man?
Dude, this last year I started reading Dune after I watched the movie,
Okay.
and so I'm like on book 4 now, but pretty casually reading that stuff. It's been like 8 months, I guess.
I would say 3 books, 8 months is pretty good pace so far.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely not bad. Definitely not bad.
for that kind of book, yeah. Take it on your own. You're doing good.
Thank you, sir.
Let's get on with the show, though. Today we're gathered here to worship our lovely League of Legends, which I have been playing a little bit. Every once in a while, I'll get invited to a couple an ARAM or something, and I'll just be like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, I'll join. And they've been going okay. Although I have been feeling like I've been getting team gapped very much lately. Well,
Yeah,
maybe team gap is the wrong word. Maybe a little bit of team gap, but also like a lot of like comp diff as well
in
in ARAM.
ARAMs, yeah.
And I don't know if the game is just not the same game I once remembered, or man, Straka's broken. What can I say?
Yeah, dude, I think that just happens in ARAM, like you just get on streaks where it's impossible to win games no matter how you play. Feels
Yeah,
like.
but I'll go ahead.
No, that you're good. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did play against the new Udyr in ARAM, and he's kind of strong in ARAM actually. And in fact, they actually we're gonna get into the patch notes, but they like mid patch buffed him as well. So I guess we can kind of start there. What are your thoughts on the new Udyr so far with his slowing skills and his Anivia ulti that he can throw like a spirit bomb or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the thoughts?
So I think my only like direct experience with Udyr is I played him the day he released just in like practice tool and stuff against bots. So I he feels a little bit different. You're still kind of mostly doing the same thing, like running in and hitting people, and you use all your spells. But this time, like now, I feel like each of his individual spells feels a little bit more impactful. Like you're supposed to use every ability instead of just like spam stun when it's up, spam shield whenever it's up, and then otherwise you stay in Phoenix form and be a tank. or stay in Tiger form and be, a little bruiser guy. Um, but now it definitely feels like you're like supposed to cycle your skills just to get your passive cooldown and that kind of stuff a lot more often. It's a little different. I think I've seen people. I haven't played any real games against him or like as him, so I've seen some people say on Twitter like that he's a little weaker earlier. Definitely feels like his clear is harder to deal with before you get a few spells or all your abilities because the individual cooldown is more important. Like you only get benefits from the first two autos after a cooldown, so it's a little harder to clear like at level 1 and 2. But he sounds like he's still pretty good late game.
Sweet, that's pretty cool to hear. And I wonder, is he strong? Do you think? Do you think like his numbers?
I think so. It seems like it. I think that what I've seen mostly, I think that they what did they hotfix patch? I think his Q like the yeah his Q is like pretty weak, which is like the on hit like 80 damage kind of build. And I know they buffed that in the hotfix, and then it looks like they gave him some bumps down on his W shield. Yeah, on his W shield and the healing. So I think his like tank build was pretty good. Just like going, like you go like Sunfire, Dark Seal, or Demonic, or like those kind of items, and like full tank for the rest of the stuff. Um, and I think that stuff is pretty good, but I haven't seen that many people play it. I think because like playoffs and stuff are all on the old patch, so a lot of people still like pros won't practice that in solo queue or anything. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly because I just haven't seen enough of it.
Yeah, and another thing on that point is I think I saw somebody say on Twitter that Udyr won't be enabled for Worlds as well. So only the old Udyr will still be there, not the new one.
Oh, really? I thought it was new Nudity on Worlds. That maybe I read that wrong. I thought somebody tweeted out that it was.
Hmm. All right, maybe next week we can confirm.
All right, all
We'll
right.
take notes on that. But yeah, let's get into the rest of the newest patch, which is 12.16. It did have a couple of mid-patch updates, one including Yumi, just like kind of out of nowhere. And I saw a couple of people complaining about that. But I think there's a couple of few cool champion buffs here and there, just for us on this call in particular. And some cool skins coming through as well. But I think that this is going to be one of the patches that's going to be leading up to Worlds. I, I want I want to say like probably 12.18 is probably going to be the Worlds patch.
Yeah, I believe
So
that's
we're getting
correct.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we are getting there. But yeah, let's start with kind of the mid patch Yumi update, where they just like the guy said on Twitter, I think that here's a random Unity buff, and we just hope that Canon Yumi doesn't return. And it was like, what kind of statement is that? So they like buffed her Q damage, and then also lowered her R cooldown by 20 seconds at level 1, 10 seconds at level 2. So I would say kind of significant figures there. And I think the world was on fire that day when that happened.
Yeah, I mean they did in the normal patch knock down a pretty significant portion of her like E power, reducing the AP ratio on the move speed that it gives and like giving a 2 second increase to its max rank cooldown.
That's true.
So I think that like I don't know whatever the early metrics were said that was a pretty big hit to Yumi, especially with how she's played recently, where it just seems like there are crazy champs like Sivir and Zeri and Olaf and whoever else that she can sit on in late game and just you hit E and they're super fast and unstoppable. So it seems like those probably hit that play pattern pretty big, and they said like okay we have to give her some compensation. But I have seen people talking about yeah like doing the canon Yumi stuff like putting it on Garen, and just that's your damage champion, and the other one is just there to give her a vessel with which to deal her damage.
Yeah. And then we already talked about some of the Udyr buffs, so let's just kind of cover a lot of them really quickly. So there's 4 champion nerfs here: Draven, Poppy, Yumi, and Zeri. and then a couple of champion buffs, including Caitlyn, Irelia, Jace, Kaisa, Malphite, Tristana, and Zoe, and Diana as well. I'm going to start with Zoe. I really like some of the changes that they did to her, including, I believe, when other people kill minions with your W on it, it's going to give you the item now. Um, which finally,
Now you can't get
after
mad
like,
at the ADC for taking your bubble in late game.
yeah, especially in ARAM, dude. Nobody cares in ARAM, but like,
True.
it's kind of important, man. I don't. I'm just kidding. But yeah, 4 years later, they've made this change, and I'm livid. I love it.
Yeah, I feel I've seen a lot of people talk about this too. That this is the buff that support Zoe needed, and I've had a buddy who is on the support Zoe train before, or who was before, and he's entered a few of my lanes with it. So I hope I hope that if it is back, then it's actually good and not like more cause for me to get inted by it. But it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and then I would say another one that caught my eye was some Kaisa changes where they buffed the AP ratios on her Q and R. I mean, the R doesn't matter; it's for the shield, but buffing the AP ratios on her Q, it caught some eyeballs from me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like they're really trying to push her like hybrid builds back into existence somehow, and I don't think they know how to do that. I think that those are probably still gated by like what items you actually build. Like it's harder with mythic items to sneak in every different stat that you want as Kaisa, but maybe people will give it a try. We've seen some people try to play it like as is on like the last patch in playoffs. I think like Danny pulled it out maybe last week of LCS,
Uh huh.
but I don't know if this is gonna like really help her.
And then that's pretty much going to be for me. Are there any changes in this patch that are catching your interest, my good sir?
I think the changes that they made to like Draven and Caitlyn are kind of interesting. I don't know if that's gonna shake up bot lane metas at all. I think this is also a weird patch to think about for pros because pros won't play on it until like at least the next patch has happened. Anyway, because just like I mean they'll play solo queue on it, but it won't. We won't see any games on it. I don't think, just because of playoffs being locked on 12, 15, or 14 already.
Yeah.
Um, but giving more buffs to Caitlyn, I think actually I think we did see somebody play Caitlyn in LCS this last weekend, and it didn't look that bad. Maybe it was FPI. I don't remember, but I remember seeing some. Maybe it was in EU, in the LEC. But I remember seeing some people like doing some like late game Gale Force Caitlyn headshots for like 1,500 damage on carries. So this is like definitely buffs or passive ratio and giving some crit skilling on R is pretty nice for just Caitlyn to be able to be useful later in the game.
Mm-hmm. And also, actually, another change that I want to kind of shout out is a nerf to the Poppy nerf, which is reduce damage to minions and monsters on her Q. I think that is going to have a meaningful effect on her as we move into Worlds, because I know that some people have been picking her during the playoff matches and stuff like that. So I wonder how big this is going to be, affecting her pick rate when we go into the World Championship.
Yeah, I bet she's probably still going to be pretty prio just because teams are used to playing with her, but it's going to shake up how junglers like actually have to like path in the early game because I think that a lot of like the power poppy is that you get really like fast raptor clears early in the game. Like you can like hit two Qs on all the raptors and the camp is dead. And so like you can path like raptors to your buff to enemy raptors and that kind of stuff and do really cheesy kind of invades, or just fight over raptors in general. So having those capped or having that like damage cap go lower, I think will probably mess with how easily she's able to do that. Um, but I doubt it'll. I think they'll figure out that that's not the only way that you can play the champ. And obviously, like you have other paths that you can go, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then I also want to shout out these Zeri changes as well, where they really gutted, not gutted, I've seen worse, but they hit pretty hard the ratio on her W,
Thank
both the
God.
AD and the AP one. Yeah, and when you shoot it through walls and it was hitting people for like half of their health, that was pretty strong for like months on end.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
really crazy. I think especially you've seen the I think it'll be really useful this change because you've seen people that do the like on hit Titanic Hydra build kind of thing recently again, and it's amazing how you go that build and suddenly her W damage like looks like not insane and crazy and bonkers, and instead is just like 300 400 damage, and you're like that seems fair for a skill that is like that from an ADC. But then people are still going the crit build when they're smart and get IE third, and suddenly your W goes from like a 400 damage ability to a 850 damage ability that hits 4 or 5 people at a time. So I'm glad that they're nerfing this a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it's about time, actually. It's been pretty problematic since her, not release, but like since like
Whenever they
a month
changed
or
it.
two after. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with how often like they're obviously willing to change Zeri's numbers a whole lot. I mean, this is yet another patch that she has not escaped the patch notes. So to see that change last for so long when so many people obviously did not like it, it's a little surprising. But I'm glad it's here finally.
Yep, yep. Any other changes this patch you want to give a shout to?
I think nothing that's too crazy. All the other ones are like kind of just like number taps one way or another. But I think the one that you might see as like the like reminding people that this champ exists and it is also a good buff is the Tristana buff. They're just giving like 15% attack speed at all ranks of her Q, which is pretty nice. I think that that's like a Trist mid buff, really, and I can see mid laners just wanting to pick Tristana again. That's one of those picks that it's like, oh yeah, if this is playable, then people will want to play it mid.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think there's like an item change, somewhere in there for even shot, but don't really care about that item.
Yeah, that's not
So
too
let's
crazy.
let's jump all the way down to upcoming skrins and chromas from this patch. Here we've got Armored Titan Nasus, Cyber Halo Janna, which if you click on Cyber Halo Janna and it like opens in a new window, the file name for it is like Steel Valkyrie or something like that, which is both of those are sick ass names. I just want to be clear. Um, but the marketing team needs to get that on log.
Well, I think
Next,
I think Steel Valkyries is like the skin line in quotes, and then all these guys are units of the Steel Valkyries. I think that's the lore.
pretty cool, pretty cool. And then yeah, so speaking of which, we also have Strike Commander Camille, which I would buy if I played this game, and Strike Paladin Lucian, which I'm a little surprised he's getting another skin, but it is what it is. And then lastly, we have Prestige Cyber Halo Janna, which, looking at it, I actually wouldn't know if this is a Lux skin or not, low key. But secondly, mommy, hello?
Yeah, this
I
is
would,
Six Splash.
oh my god. Six splash, that's like totally different from the base. And it, I would want to see it. I want to see this skin. That's pretty cool. It looks so good. If you told me this was Wild Rift only, I would believe you. It's too good, probably.
Land of the good skins, Wild Rift
Yeah,
exclusives.
exactly. And then like, oh, I was also thinking that the Cyber Halo Janna, the base one, it reminds me a lot of like a Kale skin, maybe like the Police Kale skin or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah, the wings make me feel that way. Same thing on the Nasus one as well. But that is my feedback there.
Yeah, I feel like these skins, especially for the Lucian one, I guess I haven't seen it in game, but the vibe of it just reminds me a lot of the project one that like already exists, just like the lines and stuff on it. But I don't know that I've seen the effects to really compare them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now let's jump into the world of pro play, where we have missed a bit. The summer split ended. I believe it was EG first place, 100 Thieves second, and then who cares after that?
True,
Just a
true,
pit a
pace.
mishmash of things. And in the end, the first week of playoffs also went by where we had Team Liquid versus FlyQuest and Cloud9 versus CLG. I think we can kind of pause there, just kind of skim through those matches just a little bit. Um, we can start with the Cloud9 versus CLG one, which was probably a little more exciting. A total clown fiesta throughout a couple of the games where it felt like, probably these are pro teams. And that it looks like they were having fun. I think there was this a series where like support Ash was pulled out and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think Sven was playing a lot of support Ash in the series.
Yeah, and which was pretty cool. And I think that in the fifth game, I ended in a tragedy for CLG, and they totally could have won this series. But did you have any thoughts on the C9 versus CLG?
Yeah, I just remember. I mean, it has been a little bit removed from this one, but this was a yeah pretty exciting series, definitely. It was like it was almost surprising that it was as close as it was. I feel like a lot of people were down on C9 going into this week or that first week of playoffs, and CLG really kind of gave them a run for their money. I thought after like game 3 or 4 that they like really did have a shot um, at pulling it off, but that game 5, like you said, was a little tragic. Uh, but it was really like it was almost like back and forth stomps from both teams. Like there were points where it's like holy shit, like how is C9 even in this game or like in the series, and then holy shit, how is CLG even in the series in the next one? But then yeah, that last game was it felt like they should have had it. They had a really fed Zeri. I don't know. I feel like that series was like defined by Zeri, like Berserker, or maybe I'm thinking Berserker's performance on Zeri last week, where he has just gone crazy. But like there were a few spots where it felt like Luger was supposed to be able to carry those games as Zeri, uh, knowing what we know about what that champion can do, and it just didn't come out for CLG on the end.
Yeah, and speaking of Zeri, dude, Zeri and Sivir have been running this entire playoffs, not just in the LCS but around the world. Those two champions are like too strong right now.
I know it is pretty crazy. I'm it's disappointing that more teams aren't like trying to ban them, but I feel like they must like I think in LEC that's the one I was saying like I saw like some Caitlyn, some Aphelios, like you're seeing other champs tried to be played into those champs. But in NA especially it just seems like people are so okay with handshaking, and like, oh, we're first pick, we want Sivir, or we're first pick, we want Zeri, and then you just give away the like meta combos to the other team, and you're fine with that. And if people have tried to play, a counter, like you try to pull out a Draven, you try to pull out a Caitlyn or something, like it just does not work. So they've probably gone through those trials and tribulations and scrims and decided, yeah, it's not worth it. Let's just handshake the meta. But it is pretty boring of a fucking bot lane meta.
Yeah. So, any last words for C9 versus CLG?
No, I think honestly, I mean, we'll talk more about what happened this last week, but after this one, it felt pretty. This felt like a pretty disappointing series where it's like both sides feel bad about it. Like I don't know, C9, if you're gonna be
Yeah.
good, you should have like stomped this series, and CLG, it's like, damn, you were this close to being like winners bracket, winners finals, or winners semis. Like you should have won these games. And they kind of both came out like I mean, obviously C9 was in the better spot. They won the series, but they definitely came out of that series, and I'm like had a lesser expectation for C9 going into the next week.
That's fair. I think that's fair. So yeah, based off that series. And then also in week one we had Team Liquid versus FlyQuest, where FlyQuest actually won the first game of this series, which kind of makes you think like, oh no, oh no. But then Team Liquid went ahead and won the next three games in pretty dominant fashion. Like
Yeah,
actually dominant.
yeah. Yeah, that first game I think it was wasn't it like didn't Philip just like go insane? I thought like
Yeah, I
he
think
like
he was playing
solo carried,
Aatrox.
right?
Yeah, beast moded, like Ultra Instinct. Any word in the book that you want to say about how strong he was in that first game. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that like that I definitely I think that day I was like doing other stuff, and so I was checking in every once in a while, and I saw like Twitter of that like, and Philip takes over, takes over the series, takes game one for FlyQuest, and I'm like, holy shit, is FlyQuest actually gonna fuck them up? Is TL that bad? And then you just check in later in the day, and every other game is TL dominating, TL dominating, TL dominating. It's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah,
We got our hopes up
just
a
like
little too fast.
16, yeah, 16-2 score lines and stuff like that. So yeah, enough of that. We can move on to week two. Um, and I also didn't want to spend too much time on it since we're a little behind.
Fair,
So week
fair.
two had FlyQuest versus TSM, CLG versus Golden Guardians, and then as well as the latest matches, 100 Thieves versus Team Liquid, and C9 versus Evil Geniuses. Do you want to start with the first two, or do you want to just get to the sauce?
Now let's run through the lower bracket first. Those were
Okay.
some interesting series to say the least. I think.
All
Well,
right. I'll
yeah.
let you take the lead.
All right. We'll start. I mean, both with the 5 games, but we'll start with the FlyQuest TSM one. I don't know. I think after I don't know, just after the whole fucking year for TSM, I wasn't expecting a lot against the series. It's like I think they should be able to win, but I feel like I've said that about different iterations of TSM throughout the split, that they probably should be able to win more games. So it's like they have a chance. I'm excited to see if they have a chance. And then you watch the first couple of games, and it seemed like they won game one, but or did they win game one? They did win game one, right? They win game one. It's like you think it's fine. I was kind of convincing. There was kind of a salty run back in game two. I think there was maybe one pick different, and FlyQuest stomped them. And then TSM subbed out Instinct and brought Tactical back, and I thought this is doomed. There's no fucking way. Like, there's no way this guy has been benched, and like people have been talking about how bad his mental is, and he's like been stuck in academy. They've already lost out of proving grounds in academy. Like, there's no way this is the right choice. He picks Draven in the first game and loses that game, and I'm like, oh no, guy, this is so scary. But they went on to win games 4 and 5. It was kind of nail biters. It was a bit spicy. Um, that they TSM pulled out the win, knocked out FlyQuest. I feel like the big story is that it's really just a disappointing end for FlyQuest. You have that really tough series against TL where you just kind of get ass blasted after the first game, and then this one it's like I don't know. TSM almost shouldn't be in the playoffs. You feel like it's like this is your one matchup against the seventh place, eighth place team. Like you should, if you're gonna prove that you're a worthwhile team as FlyQuest and you've had glimpses over the season, this is the series you should just stomp them and put them out of their misery. And then to go out in a tough 5 game series, it feels pretty bad for Tikui and Jose Diota and the boys. But they had a good year. They had a good year.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't sound right that TSM is moving on after kind of the wild year that they've had. But we will be seeing some more of them next week. Let's. How about the CLG versus Golden Guardians series? Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one is like kind of an interesting. You might call it a mirror of the C9 CLG series, where I think that CLG should be better than what they showed here. Like it went to 5 games. You don't think it should have gone to 5 games, but it definitely did. And here we are with CLG out on the better end of it, but you're still like a little worried that it took that much work to get through Golden Guardians.
Yeah, a bit of a tough start for CLG. Having two back-to-back 5 game series. I wonder how they're going to do next weekend, going up against Team Liquid as well. And so, speaking of which, let's get into Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves, which resulted in a 3-2 victory for 100 Thieves. So it kind of could have gone either way at the end of it all, but first 2 games taken by 100 Thieves, it was looking pretty doomed for Team Liquid, especially because they had like a small lead in the second game, and then 100 Thieves just like turned it around on them, and it seemed like they were the better team at that point. Um, yeah, they're able to take game 3 and game 4, but then in game 5, um, 100 Thieves played really well throughout the game and ended up taking the series. What were your thoughts on, I guess, this matchup so far?
Yeah, I don't know. This is definitely a series where it's also similarly like just the stories of the both teams like throughout the year where I think TL should just be so much better than they are and than what they're showing. Like just based off the names on the paper and the like caliber of like what they can be, the games that they do win, they look pretty good. Um, but
Yeah.
and then the other thing for 100 Thieves where it's like I keep not expecting these guys to pull off the things that they do pull off, but they just have really good performances, really clutch moments from guys like Closer on that game 5 Lee Sin. Um, I don't know, it was equal parts disappointing and impressive, I think, for the two teams. It's obviously a really good win for 100 Thieves, I think. Um, but it's leaves so many questions for this TL team. Like how are they supposed to be consistent? Because it feels like those games like 3 and 4. Game 3 was the pocket pick Bjergsen Zillion. Just made it like an easy mode game. Game 4, I forget what happened in game 4, but they just had this disgusting ball comp. Yeah, I don't know. Like it seems like they should have these better ways to win, and the team thinks like they're pretty clever with like whatever their Whippos counter picks in top lane and like that kind of stuff, or like I don't know, but they just look disappointing on individual levels at different points in all these games, and it makes it really confusing, just really confusing as a TL supporter.
Yeah, you put it the best way. Like the games that they win, it gives you hope in them again. But then the games that they lose, it's like you kind of do want to make fun of them for like
Yeah.
having this roster and not succeeding with it. It's a bit disappointing, and like you just know that like if it doesn't work out and they don't go to Worlds this year, then like the changes will be made, and like they probably should be if it doesn't work out like this. But man, it's something, it just doesn't feel right. But kudos to 100 Thieves for having the same roster for over a year now, and they're still doing really well, in at least here in the USA.
Yeah, I think it's a really funny thing. It's like it's got to be a as from the perspective of 100 Thieves, you got to just like laugh at these teams like
Yeah,
TL because you're sitting over there like knowing like we have like a 3-man core that has been on the same team for 3 years at this point, right? And gone to practically gone to worlds. Like they're obviously fucking good and we're supporting them and just fixing pieces here and there to make it a better and better team, right? And then you're gonna watch TL as they have like the $7 million roster, and you beat them and possibly sent them on the road to get knocked out of world's contention, um,
yeah,
and you're just like, man, you guys know that like you don't have to get rid of your whole roster, right? Like some of these are good players. Like they might be better after they can just play together next year. Like you actually don't know what it's going to be like, but you also do get the feeling that TL is just Steve's going to say nope. I'm going to buy 5 other players. Sorry guys.
crazy to think. Any last words for? But I'm happy that 100 Thieves will be going to Worlds. That just, yeah, the way that they played this series, I liked it.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely agree. I think it's a good they have their moments where you think they're not as good, like they can get stomped in games, they can look bad, but they definitely just like play so cohesively, and Closer has like really crazy plays. FBI is a crazy ADC, and that's good. That's good on some of these, I mean, jungle and AD is practically like all you need if they're both like going insane to win fights when it's like Sivir, Zeri, bottom lane meta. You just need one guy to finally engage with Wukong or Xin Zhao, and then the ADC just cleans it all up. So hopefully the meta stays similar for them, and they do get to stay like this consistent worlds.
For sure. Let's push on to the next series, Cloud9 versus Evil Geniuses, which also went to. Actually, no, it only went to game four, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. This was actually like the one that wasn't game 5.
Yeah, and so I think that
So
against a lot of
obviously it was a
expectations.
game 4 3-1 EG stomp, right?
No, sir, it was not. Yeah, against the expectations, especially having seen the previous Cloud9 series, and and watching Evil Geniuses across the entirety of the summer split. Yeah, you would have thought that this one would have been in the favor of EG, but actually C9 took this game. or took this match 3-1. Looking pretty solid. Looking okay in their wins actually.
Yeah, looking
But
okay.
yeah. But but we take those is how
True.
I would feel. Yeah, if I was C9. Um, and, and it's like it's kind of like wow, like what happened to EG in the 2 week break from the end of summer to now, and are they going to be okay? I mean, they'll be up against TSM in the next part of the bracket, but
Yeah, they better
are,
be
are they
okay
going to be
against
okay?
TSM, right?
Are they going to be okay? So yeah, let's get into the series a little bit. How did you feel about C9 versus EG?
For me, I think a lot of the plays that I remember from this series is just like Berserker playing fights like insane as Zeri and just pumping
Yeah,
damage whenever they needed it.
it was his
Um,
series for sure.
it was definitely his series. Though, did he win Player of the Series? He must have, right?
Yeah, if he didn't, then something's not right.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I wonder if for some of these like for a team like EG, if some of it isn't just that they played like they kind of like ran the league, and ran the meta essentially for the whole split. Obviously, right? They were super good, and then you get that 2 week break, and teams are scrimming on the playoff patch, and you're in whatever microcosm of scrim partners that you have. You probably aren't playing against C9 just because they're on your side of the bracket. Um, and you just like get like kind of a bad read on what the picks to the meta are. And I think C9 might just be like, the perfect team to like screw you over with like you're too comfortable with whatever your meta thing is because they have guys like I mean Berserker is one just like too fucking good. Sven's gonna play like range supports or supports that are gonna like challenge you kind of in that lane, and make you play better. And even then, you're still playing as Berserker, who's gonna wipe up fights. And then you have like Fudge, who plays like the weird tanks, the counter picks top, and plays them well. Um, and I think that just can like obviously mess with your preparation. And you have to kind of play like Jensen's gonna pull out like a Nivea in a game, or he plays as Oriana, and that's stuff that like you isn't on your meta tier list, right? Like the Zillion in Game 4 of the series. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised that this is just like kind of a good matchup for C9, like just like the timeliness of it, with EG playing some weird picks, and it not working out, or C9 playing like good counter picks into the EG meta. But we'll see how it goes for both of these teams. I think EG still looked okay, right? Like they put up a fight. It just was like bad fights.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes, I would say a bit disappointing for EG in the end. I'm sure that they'll get through some of the lower bracket pretty easily and have another fighting chance at the spot at Worlds. But man, I don't think anyone was expecting this outcome at the end of the weekend. Yeah, I think 100 Days versus TL was up in the air for a lot of people, but EG versus C9, I'm I'm thinking a lot of people were gonna go with EG, having seen the way that C9 was, the previous
Yeah,
week.
yeah, the way that C9 was against CLG, and then the way that CLG was against Golden Guardians, and you're like, holy shit, C9 is like essentially barely better than Golden Guardians, right? Like, and they had 4 wins on the season,
Uh huh.
but no, they proved that they were still pretty good.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and give a preview to the next week of playoff games. There's going to be 3 matches, which will be Team Liquid versus CLG, Evil Genius versus TSM, and then the winner of those 2 matches will play on Sunday, um, for the third/fourth place match, for the fourth place match, and then the winner will go on to the next week to play for second/third, I believe. Anyways, let's start with Team Liquid versus CLG. I'm thinking heavily favored for TL, but if any time that CLG wants to, revive their organization, like this would be it actually, and it would be really funny if CLG went against Team Liquid. It'd be really funny if CLG played TSM somehow, but the way that we have things matched up here, TL versus CLG, who are you rooting for here?
I definitely think I'm rooting for CLG in this instance.
Yeah, I phrased it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely rooting for CLG, and I don't know. This is totally like the the logical part of me is still looking at the TL roster and looking at the games that they've won, and you're like, yeah, Bjergsen should be able to find some picks to shut down Palafox. Yeah, Dokla should not run over Whippo, but I know, like in my heart of hearts, that we're gonna see Whippo play like Olaf in game one, and Dokla's gonna play like Akshan and shit on it or something, and TL is just gonna like lose the game by 7 minutes, and I'm gonna be disappointed. And then it feels like they have to pull out like weird picks, and Hans is playing MF bot lane in game five again, and like I don't think I have the confidence in TL as the team to actually like win this convincingly, but I think they should be good enough that they still can, even if they're like kind of in this weird form. Especially since CLG has not like proven that they're consistently really good yet either. I mean, they've had like that C9 matchup. If you're especially if you look at C9 who just 3-1 EG, you're like, okay, well they brought C9 to at least 5 games, right? Like that's pretty good. But then they had the same thing happen against Golden Guardians. I don't know that like you can say which one is their true form and which one like just was like they were good on that day. Um, so I don't know. I want CLG to win. I think they should be. They have a good chance here. This is definitely the closer matchup. So I'll root for CLG here.
Hmm.
What do you think? Are you still you're a CLG guy here, or no, you said TL's gonna win?
I'm rooting for TL, but I don't blame you for rooting for CLG because yeah, TL deserve to lose. I mean, they don't. No, let me rephrase that. TL don't deserve to win because they put themselves in this situation. But
Yeah, yeah,
man,
that's fair.
that's my attitude towards them right now. Is like you a couple more losses and they'll be at like TSM levels of disappointment for me.
Yeah, honestly, if it's kind of it's at this point where I think TSM is like definitely bottomed out a lot worse than TL. But if you had this TL roster at the beginning of the year, you there's like no chance in hell that they shouldn't be in Worlds, right? Like that they're one of your top three guaranteed. It's not even like close, like they should have been. If they're gonna be the three spot, then they should be coming into this, and it's like no doubt, like yeah, they're gonna make it through the losers bracket. But you don't. I don't have that same confidence in them as I would have 5 months ago.
Yeah. Next up we have Evil Geniuses versus TSM. I mean, it feels kind of foolish for us to even talk about this, but
Yeah.
but here we are in the lower bracket, first place versus where that was TSM seventh or eighth. One
T-
of the two.
TSM was seventh. TSM was seventh.
Okay.
It should be EG. I don't know. Like yeah, it should be hard. It should be or it should be Evil Geniuses. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like last weekend they had TSM had bright spots, but still it was against FlyQuest who had shaky spots. Obviously, um,
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think they can. I don't think they can win. I like the only hope is that somehow the like tactical time chamber, that he's been in has like he's actually god mode now, and Hansama is shaking in his boots after what Berserker did to him and doesn't know how to play ADC anymore, and the I don't know, like they're just gonna fall apart. Um, or this is Evil Geniuses. It's not even Hansama. Like Danny is shaking in his boots after what Berserker did to them. Um, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah, it should be like an easy 3-0 for EG.
For sure. Then let's kind of preview, EG versus the winner of TL versus CLG, and we kind of have to have that conversation of like, man, it'd be kind of crazy if EG don't go to Worlds this year.
Yeah, yeah. After how I mean, I guess it's crazy only after how dominant they've been in summer split, right? Like
Yeah, and winning spring, yeah.
right. I mean, I think it would have been easier if EG like kind of coasted into playoffs this split again, and it was they were like 8-8 again, or like 10-8. Like if they went in in like what C9 spot was this split, um, you kind of would have just said like, yeah, EG was good, but like winning spring was kind of a fluke, and they'd need a bit of a fluke again, right? But
Okay, I see
obviously,
your.
obviously the other teams don't know what they're doing against EG in the regular split, and EG was fucking good. So it feels like you now we have like this higher expectation of them, right? But they are still this young team that I can see the world where they don't make it to Worlds, right? But they have shown that they're good enough that they should easily be like that third spot, I think.
Okay, yeah. The world where they don't make worlds is, because Team Liquid wins their match and then Team Liquid beats Evil Geniuses. Is how I imagine it. But man, if CLG
Yeah.
win both games, then the timeline is off the rails.
Yeah. I'm secretly I'm hoping that there's actually like hardwired plot armor in the LCS contracts, and it has to be CLG TSM in the spot for the third worlds.
That would
Um,
be insane. Yeah.
that'd be insane. But it would almost assuredly be another 0-6 team in groups, but it would be a fucking insane story for LCS.
Yeah, and like 0-6 in like play-ins groups because they don't even get to the group stage, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, maybe they'd sneak in, like maybe somehow they're like that good that they go into the losers finals and sneak that game too, and so then they go in as second seed. So that way it's like 100 Thieves who has to go through play-ins, and they're fine. They're fine in play-ins, but CLG TSM in second seed, free to groups, that'd be sick.
Yeah. All right, let's stop fantasizing and kind of get this episode a little wrapped up. So now there's 10 teams who have qualified for Worlds by now. A couple of teams from across the world. We have Top Esports and JDG from LPL. I think the seeds have yet to be determined there. Next
Yeah,
up from LCK, we have Gen G, who will be first, and T1, who will be second. I think it's because of Gen G won the finals, and T1, they're going to default by points, to my understanding. So they don't
hmm
need to go to the regional playoffs that they have.
yeah, you're correct there.
Next up, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Next up, we have 100 Thieves and C9, who will, guaranteed a world spot just by winning their upper bracket semifinals matches, seeding that to be determined. Same thing for Rogue and G2 out of the LEC, also qualified for Worlds now. And I've written here Mad as well. And I think there's still a fourth seed that's yet to be determined out of LEC, if I have that correctly.
Yeah, I think that somehow I forget how the EU uh like seeding stuff works, but somehow it works out by like points or something that Matt is in it because they qualified off of like G2 winning a series last weekend after they had lost, so it didn't make sense to me. But um, yeah, somehow Matt has to go.
I see. And then lastly, the 10th team that's qualified so far is going to be Isuris from LLA. So we have almost nearly half of the world's teams finalized by now, and pretty cool so far.
Yeah, yeah, pretty crazy. Did you watch any? Have you watched any of these other regions? I think last weekend I tried to stay up to watch some of the Gen G's T1 series, and they had like an hour long technical delay at the beginning, and it was like,
Oh, darn.
damn. It was like the show was supposed to start at like 10:30 our time, and it was like, damn, LCK at a normal time? That's fucking
Pretty
insane.
early. Yeah,
And
that's
then
what
they
I've
had
heard too.
like an hour long delay, and it was like 11:45 by the time the game started. I was like, okay, never mind. There goes my hopes and dreams. But
Yeah.
Genji like stomped those games, so I didn't miss much that I couldn't catch in the recap thread.
Dang, that's exciting to see. And yeah, I think out of LPL, like the people scraping for the last couple of spots are gonna be pretty contentious as well because I think there's like the Do and B Tarzan team, and then there's
hmm
also EDG, the last year's world champions, still vying for a spot to my understanding. So the last few spots are gonna be contentious for LPL.
Yeah, it should be exciting for those guys. Obviously, heavy favorites, regardless of if they come in as 3 or 4 seeds once it comes to the world's groups. So,
Yeah. All right. Anything else for this episode that you want to chat about?
do you want to talk about the 100 Thieves C9 matchup? Did we talk about that one? The winners finals?
Winners finals. Oh no. Yeah, that's a couple weeks out.
No,
But yeah,
that's
we
this
could talk
weekend.
about that right now.
That's this Sunday.
Oh really? I
Yeah,
must have totally
or
misread the
this it's
schedule
this
then.
Saturday. It's yeah, it's TLEG or TLCLG Thursday, EG TSM Friday, 100 Thieves C9 Saturday, and then the winners of the losers brackets on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Because next
Hmm.
week is LCS finals.
You're right. You're right. Okay. Let's have you start on this because I have kind of a basic bitch take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the way that they've been playing, it should be 100 Thieves. The way that they've been drafting, I think it can be C9, if that like makes sense. Because I think the 100 Thieves like I don't know, like I feel like when you win games like that game 5 against TL where it's like literally just I mean closer just ego picked Lee Sin and then smurfed on them. Like nobody's like playing a lot of Lee Sin. It's just like Xin Zhao, Trundle, Wukong meta for jungle, right? And he said, "Nah,
Yeah.
fuck that. I'm gonna win this game," and he did it. Um, I think that like that kind of like skill play is still like something that C9 can be exploited by. Like they're they play kind of volatile early styles. I don't know, like Berserker still seems like he's not like super like dominant in lane, right? Like he's obviously like an insane AD in team fights. But I think it might just be like some of still having like Sven as a support, but they don't always win lanes. And you have Fudge who is susceptible to counterpicking and not being perfect in these counterpicks. And like those are all things that like if 100 Thieves just like outhands them early or keeps it even and outhands them in like mid game fights or stuff around Dragon like closer Abadage like those guys can all like take over series. Someday can like really neutralize Fudge if he tries to do like Fiora counter picks that kind of stuff. Um, so I think that 100 Thieves has like the better shot by form, but there is a good chance that C9 just like picks these comps where like I don't know, they're like the time that they picked out the Anivia a couple weeks ago in regular season and like played that really well. The Zillion game 4 comp where they had Zillion Renata with Olaf and Seri, like you just like could never kill anybody on C9 side. Like those are really good signs of like strategic minded stuff, like just draft minded stuff that C9 is really good at. So I can see the arguments for either side, but I think it's more likely that 100 Thieves does come out on top.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna probably pick 100 Thieves as well, between the two. But I think that Cloud9 could make this an exciting series. I don't know why I consider them the underdogs in this matchup.
I mean, they
Just
definitely are
because.
just by regular season, right?
Oh yeah, there's that. But yeah, just the way that hmm, the Cloud9 versus EG series like really messes things up because I wasn't that high on them, and then now like they show that they can do it and they can get things together. And Jensen is okay, Fudge is okay, but Berserker's a beast at least. So they have that going for them. Blabber's okay as well. I don't. I'm just not super impressed by a lot of the Cloud9 members. Really, just like Sven and Berserker are the only people that I'm high on for Cloud9. Whereas
Yeah.
for 100 Thieves, I really like the way that they've been playing as a team so far. So that's why I would be rooting for them.
Yeah, I do think like the C9 top side, like you said, they have a tendency to kind of like underperform if things aren't perfect for them. Like that like in
That's a
that
good way to
EG
put it.
series, right? Like they had like the game 3 that EG won. I remember watching that draft and thinking like EG had picked like the Seraphine on like their fourth pick, right? And C9's like still needs both teams still need to pick their mid laner. C9's like hovering this is year. It's like the obvious like EG needs like a super damage threat because they're playing Seraphine bottom and this is like it's like 100% EG is gonna pick Azir if it's up, right? And Jensen's like No, 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 no. I'll pick LeBlanc. I'll shit on Azir in lane, right? We can gank him. He'll never be good. We'll win before the team scales. And then he picked LeBlanc. They didn't shit on him. The team like obviously outscaled and EG won the game. And it was like totally because they had Azir damage. Like if they had to play with any other mid laner, I think they would not have ever done enough damage to win that game. And like that game felt like, like if C9 doesn't just like troll that pick, then Jensen's in a good spot and it's like fine. But he tried to be like all tricky about it and screwed himself up and put himself in a really bad position and just looked mediocre. And then in the game four he had Zillion and it was like, oh, this is a super good pick for the comp and he played well, right? And then I think also in that series they had the first game where EG tried to pick like Hecarim jungle and like shake things up like out the bat, and I think that stuff just like did not go well for them. So in a way, like in my head, it's kind of like if EG probably just plays more standard in game one, they have a way better chance instead of like kind of giving over a game in the momentum in the series. And then in game four, uh, like they got a little bit cheesed, like not super cheese, but just like that C9 had like the way better draft. So if you expect like kind of those things and say that those games are maybe like a little more like favored just out of the drafting position, then I think it's like a way better chance that EG actually could have won that series. So that's the part where like I agree that maybe C9 isn't that good. They just put themselves in really good spots like from the get go, like strategically, or EG was trying to play themselves pretty badly, and then that made C9 look better as a team. But they're still like not that great of players. It was just like they were in such winning positions that they couldn't possibly have lost a 5 game series playing like that. I think I went a little long, but the point being, I agree with you that C9 is probably like a little more mediocre than just winning a series against EG would tell you.
Uh huh. Yeah, I don't know where I don't know my read on Cloud9 is really messed up right now from their two playoff matches.
Yeah. I think probably the only read we could make right now is that anything can happen in LCS playoffs. We're one game
True.
away from Golden Guardians playing this weekend, so
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, Golden Guardians and TSM still being in the playoffs.
can you imagine? The 18 playoff supporters would be, going crazy, rabid.
Did you manage to catch the double lift video with the three owners in it and stuff?
I think I watched some of it. I think I watched a good like hour of that podcast. Maybe I went
Okay,
back and
yeah,
listened to
same
more.
here.
But
Same
yeah,
here. I listened to like the first hour or so, and it was cool and all, but it felt really out of place for double lift to be there. And um, in the end, it's all right, I think. But it had. I feel like getting those people on a call had like such much more potential of like what could have been said or something like that.
yeah, I kind of agree. I think Doublelift is still it's still really funny to watch Doublelift kind of like go into these like more worldly ventures, where he's trying to do interviews, he's trying to like do takes on stuff and be, like a like semi-journalist React guy when it comes to like the roster leaks in the season and stuff. And
Yeah.
like that stuff, I feel like he just is not still he still hasn't figured out how like he's gonna be that person. Like he struggles with the interview parts, like on being like knowledgeable about stuff, and still is definitely like very clearly somebody who was a programmer for 10 years during a formative part of their life, and so missed out on normal life experiences like putting your leftovers in a fridge instead of taking them out of the trash can later in the day.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think that happened. I think that came up in like last week's TriCast with Sneaky Medios, and he was saying, "Dude, do you guys?" He's like, "Lena gets mad at me for eating out of the trash sometimes. Do you guys like how right girlfriends? Am I right?" And Sneaky Medios were just like, "Sorry, you eat out of the trash, bro?" And he had to explain it where he sometimes decides he doesn't want the food anymore and puts it in the trash. And then like 2 hours later, he says, "Actually, no, I am still hungry. I'll try it again." And it's at the top of the trash can, still in the container, so he just takes it out of the trash and eats it. It's fine. Pro gamers, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Brain
No
rot. A
comment.
little
No
bit of brain
comment.
rot.
If I have nothing nice to say nothing at all. Trying to keep our podcast on the radio here.
Dude, I think if we got in a beef with Double Lift, it would be good for ratings. So
For the ratings. The Nielsen's.
yeah.
All right. Anything else for this week of On the Hunt?
Oh, did you see they put a new champ in lore that's like not in league? They put Yumi's like person, Nora.
No, I did not hear about that.
Yeah. Lore got its first exclusive champ.
The lore.
The lore. Legends of Runeterra, sorry.
Okay, that's going to be it for episode 64 of On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on the service that you're listening to us on, if you haven't already. We'd appreciate it if you also give us a rating or hit the like button to show us some support. You can find us on YouTube as well as your podcast player of choice, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify and so forth. We'll see you all next week for another episode of On the Hunt.
See ya.